I love doing that. Hi guys, it's Keisha with New Beginning Healing Institute and author of Healing of the Heart. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Happy New Year to you. Oh my goodness, it's so good to talk to you. It's so good to see you. Yes, I'm back in Boca. I'm a little bit cold, so I'm having a little bit of afternoon coffee, which I never do because I only have coffee in the morning. But you know what? I'm cheating a little bit today. I'm having coffee. And I don't know what you're doing right now, but it's, what time is it? I always do this. It's now 3:35. I had lunch, had a late lunch, and now I'm having like a little bit of coffee. And I decided now to do today's Wonder Power Inspiration. Yeah, I know I changed it from One Day Power Tip. So one day being spelled WONDAY, Power Inspiration. Yeah, it's now One Day Power Inspiration. And this is the first one for 2023. And I'm excited that I get back and do the things that I love, and this is one of them. You know, talking to you and being vulnerable and sharing my my own learned experiences and my professional experiences with you. I believe that that is my purpose, or at least part of it, and also that I'm reminded that I'm meant to be here. How you like that? But it's true though. So today's One Day Power Inspiration says, remember that you're meant to be here. And you know, I'll be honest, oftentimes the world in which we live in today, the messages tell us otherwise. It tells us that we're not meant to be here. It tells us that we don't really have a purpose. It tells us that you're not even really sure who you are, really. Those are the messages that, you know, we get, you know, throughout the day, our days, whether we get it through our personal relationship, maybe from home or maybe from the workplace, or who knows. I mean, social media definitely tells us a lot about, you know, we're not meant to be here, or we're meant to be like somebody else. Oh my goodness, those messages are obviously untruth, you know, untrue messages. And so I want to talk about that today. You know, I think it's really important to talk about that we're meant to be here. You're meant to be here. I'm meant to be here. Why? Because stable relationships, right? A stable community really have, or is, you know, supported by interdependent, healthy relationships. The one that, you know, you and I have every time we talk, whether it's by video or you're sitting in the office, right? That's how healthy communities run. And that's how healthy communities are sustained. So remember that you're meant to be here. So as this new year continues then, you know, one of the things that I find that tends to happen when a new year starts is that people go into New Year resolutions. And not to say those things are bad, because nothing is all or nothing. I often talk about that. But before you go into resolutions, I think we need to identify, number one, you know, what is it that we want to do for ourselves? What is it that we want to achieve for ourselves? What is it that brings us joy? What is it that brings us a sense of purpose? Because if we can figure out what brings a sense of peace, joy, and purpose and wholeness, then I think we can get to these quote unquote resolutions. I don't really like that word, so I really like to call it intentions. And so what are your intentions then, so we can have this joy, peace, and purpose? As I mentioned earlier, I do believe that when I do the One Day Power Inspirations, or, you know, I am doing a podcast, or I'm doing a group, that is part of my purpose, and that brings me a lot of joy. And, you know, it's not work, okay? This is my purpose. And so all of these things I just mentioned reminds me then that I am meant to be here. So number one, I've identified, right, what it is that I want for myself, right? And so I'm able then to have objectives to meet that. Objective meaning intentions that I can see through. So what gets in the way of that sometimes? That's the first step. What gets in the way of that sometimes is fear. I'm not going to spend a lot of time here because I don't have a lot of time to talk about that. But, you know, on my podcast last week, Saturday, we spent a whole hour talking a lot about how to keep moving forward, leaving fear outside. I hope that you'll take a few moments and kind of like pause and play different parts of the podcast, but it was really a great conversation. So trying to get to these intentions then, one of the things that really can get in the way, or gets in the way, is fear. And, you know, I'm not talking about legitimate fear. I think we understand the difference between rational fears and irrational fears. For example, I have a rational fear of snakes. Okay, I'm not going to play with a snake because I know what can happen. But I'm talking about irrational fears that, if I go to bed and I oversleep, then I'm gonna have snakes in my house. That is so irrational. Obviously, that's not true. But if I keep thinking about those things, I may actually end up, creating behaviors or actions that I will find myself doing those things that actually I'll be put myself in a vicinity that I'll have snakes in my house, right? So these are things, it sounds weird, but when we think irrational thoughts, and who knows, how are you thinking about your peace, your purpose, your wholeness, right? What irrational thoughts are you having about those things that gets in the way, that creates fear for you? Who knows? I don't know. But I challenge you as this new year begins and continues that you'll give thought to, what is this joy, peace, and purpose that I want for myself, right? And a lot of times we have to tap into this childlike part of us. I love to talk about that. That part of you that feels good, that, this is what that was born in your heart to do. If you have the book, I talk a lot about that in one or two of the stories. Being able to tap into that part of you will allow you to really find out your purpose and, what was born in your heart to be done. So as this new year continues, tap into that part. Maybe you need to recall times where you felt like, safe, or you felt, optimistic, or you felt energized. Yeah, tap into that so you can identify what your intentions need to be to get where you want to be. What's the second thing that perhaps get in the way of remembering that you're meant to be here? Comparison. I saw a quote the other day that says, comparison is the death of joy. It is true. Because think about it, oftentimes, so here comes the social media part. Oftentimes we talk about, that person is so amazing. And truth, they really are. But so are you. That person speaks so well, or they do this so well, etc., etc. But what are some things that you do well? Let me ask you a question. Did that person get there overnight? I doubt it. Okay, so maybe some persons are born natural abilities for this or that thing. But even they still need to spend time working and honing what they do. So where does that leave you then? Right? So what am I saying? There's no need to compare yourself to anyone, right? And truth be told, we don't know the details of their lives and the struggles that they have. So what am I saying? Don't be awestruck by anyone. That's the second thing. So we talked about fear, we're talking about comparisons now. Do not be awestruck by anyone. That goes for me first. I always say to my practice, whatever I'm teaching, it's for me first, and then I expand outwards. My kids, my husband, don't be awestruck with anyone. Don't. You don't need someone to commend you. You commend yourself. You commend yourself. It's okay to admire persons, but don't you admire you? Don't you? You should. You absolutely should. Yes. And so that's the next thing that gets in the way of intentions, is comparisons. And then here's the thing, then we talk ourselves out of, well, I don't speak like that person, or I can't write like that person. Well, gee, do you want to? Then spend the time to practice. Maybe you need to retool, and strengthen your skill. Or maybe you need to get that skill, right? So no comparisons. How about doing the work? Okay? How about doing the work? And the third point then, so we talked about fear. We talked about, comparisons and what that can look like and the dangers of doing so. And then the third thing is not taking care of ourselves. You're not giving ourselves self-compassion. I spent a great deal of time talking about that also in the podcast on Saturday. And self-compassion is amazing. It's amazing about self-compassion. You often see me doing that. Once again, I don't teach about things that I don't do. And so self-compassion can come in many ways. One of them can be meditation, prayer. I talk a lot about that, and I practice that. Also doing, breath work, breathing. It's so important to connect your mind, body, and your breath. Amazing things can happen when you do that. How about creative expressions? So the next podcast, we're going to talk about that, about creative expressions, how women can have creative expressions and that allows them to practice self-care. And when you practice self-care, it's like a whole new world opens up. It's like that person, that inner child that was there, that really wants to continue exploring, just gets to come out. You often see my videos that I do about knitting. Oh, I love that. Oh my gosh. I often do, you see me feed the chickens. You often see posts I make about going to the beach. You see I do videos about working out. That's self-compassion. That's taking care of myself, because when I'm able to do that, those are things that I can do that remind me. They remind me that I'm meant to be here. Yes, it's important to do that. And so I'm excited about growing this year, personally and professionally. I'm excited about that. I'm also teaching my daughters about self-compassion too. I'm teaching my mom about self-compassion too. It's been amazing. Even my husband, self-compassion in the 21st century is very necessary. It helps us to be vulnerable, and it also helps us take care of ourselves, and helps us to build stronger communities together. We're going to need that, guys. We're going to need that. And so I look forward to us having more conversations, community. When I say community, meaning the people, persons that I work with, whether it's on a team or whether, I have served you. I look forward to doing that. And which brings me to just quickly mention that, we have two groups coming up. One being the Springs Women Group coming up on February 9th, and also our Women's Connection Collective. This group is an extension from the our regular group from fall or now spring. It's a continuation. The women have asked for a way how to continue to connect, and of course, we thrive on that. And so and that group, so you can read all about that on the website nbhi-llc.org/events. You can see that, and that's it. Oh my gosh, it's 12 minutes, and I really enjoyed doing this one-day power inspiration, and I look forward to us having many more throughout this year. And from my heart to yours, I look forward to you really identifying your needs this year, and being intentional about it, because what's not marked is not understood. Okay, so let's work on that together. Thank you for listening, and I look forward to speaking to you next time.